Behold Hathor, goddess of love and beauty, who teaches that true radiance begins where vanity ends. She was perfect, and this was a terrible burden, mainly for everyone else. At dawn, Princess Nefra performed her sacred rites before the mirror of polished bronze. Capital letters required by royal decree. 3 attendants choreographed her hair into neat right angles. A 4th fanned incense labeled Lotus 3 for important people, and a scribe recorded the day's reflections like temple accounts. Left profile, excellent. Right profile, somehow even more excellent. Nefra swept onto the palace terrace, gazed up at her newest colossal statue, and sighed. Tragic, she murmured. It's simply not colossal enough. The city moved around her like a careful stage crew. Petitioners knelt, musicians tuned, and sculptors measured the courtyard for a larger-than-life likeness. Nefra dispensed compliments as one dispenses taxes, lavishly, but always about herself. Your bracelets are charming, almost distracting from my wrists, she told a visiting noblewoman. When a tray of figs arrived, she praised the figs for understanding how beautifully they framed her hands. The morning sun climbed. The mirror, held aloft by a weary servant, caught it, and Nefra, radiant as Ra's favorite rumor, declared the day fully operational. Somewhere beyond the palace walls, Thebes breathed. Inside, the princess rehearsed being adored. Today would be perfect. Tomorrow, naturally, would be more so. By mid-year, Thebes was drowning in suitors. They came bearing necklaces strung with lapis, gazelle-skin scrolls of poetry, and one alarming shipment of imported perfume so strong it fainted a guard. Princess Nefra received them all on a dais shaped like a lotus and ringed with polished copper, so she could, naturally, admire her reflection from 12 angles. Each suitor declared undying love. Each was dismissed with the same serene finality. Your devotion is touching, she told one, but my hair looks far too magnificent for heartbreak today. Then came Pani, tall and sun-browned from campaigns in Nubia, a nobleman with the inconvenient habit of noticing everything except Nefra. He bowed politely, spoke briefly of the Nile harvest, and devoted most of his attention to the figs. Nefra froze mid-smile. Had he not seen her bracelets? Her eyelashes? The new turquoise inlay she had personally designed for the throne? It was outrageous. A catastrophe. Possibly the end of civilization. He must be blind, she whispered to Merit, her handmaiden, or bewitched. Merit, who had long suspected that vanity itself could be a curse, only murmured, Perhaps, my lady, he sees too well. But Nefra was already composing a plan. The world was full of mirrors. She would simply make Pani look into one long enough to realize perfection when he saw it. Princess Nefra approached love like a military campaign, complete with strategy, supplies, and a personally supervised art department. Pani might have ignored her at the banquet, but he would not ignore her everywhere. She had her sculptors chisel a new likeness, modest, she insisted, only 30 cubits high, and placed it right across from his villa. Then she commissioned a papyrus scroll of her own poetry, written in cinnabar ink so rare that even the ink felt flattered. The verses were mostly about her eyes, though in fairness, they were the subject that most concerned her. Pani received the gifts with perfect courtesy and stored them in a chest labeled Miscellaneous Donations. Nefra's confidence cracked. He must not have read the poem, she told Merit, or perhaps the lighting was wrong. We must illuminate it better. Soon, the palace courtyard gleamed with torches, mirrors, and banners announcing Princess Nefra, now even more radiant. Thebes grew luminous. Pani remained unmoved. Somewhere, under a vast painted ceiling, Hathor's statue tilted her head with a smile halfway between amusement and pity. For all her brilliance, the princess was still looking in the wrong direction. Days passed, then weeks. The more Nefra preened, the less the universe cooperated. A pigeon nested in her wig during a temple procession. The sacred mirror developed a mysterious smudge that refused to vanish, as if the gods themselves had fingerprints. And one of her colossal statues cracked at the nose, creating a rumor that the princess was frowning at herself. Even the Nile seemed to ripple mockingly when she leaned over to admire her reflection. Pani, meanwhile, was busy inspecting irrigation canals and laughing with workers under the sun. "He laughs too much," Nefra told Merit darkly. "Probably at something less exquisite than me." Her handmaiden dared to reply, "Perhaps laughter is exquisite, my lady, when shared." Nefra waved this away as philosophical nonsense. Yet that night, when musicians played in the courtyard, she found herself watching the workers dancing barefoot, dust rising like gold powder, and felt an odd tug in her chest. "Ridiculous," she muttered. "Emotion is for people without cheekbones." Still, she could not shake the sense that her perfect world had a crack, and light, infuriating, uninvited light, was leaking through. One morning, disaster achieved perfection. The mirror of polished bronze, her most loyal admirer, betrayed her. As dawn spilled over Thebes, Nefra gazed into it and found, horror of horrors, that her reflection looked tired. "Impossible," she gasped. "Mirrors don't age, do they?" She turned it this way and that, convinced that perhaps the sun had developed poor taste, but the image refused to flatter. Beneath the coal and gold shimmered something disobediently human. Her attendants scattered under her fury. One tripped over the cat, another dropped a chest of jewelry, which Nefra declared an omen of catastrophic proportions. Finally, Merit dared to speak. "Perhaps the goddess wishes to show you something else, my lady." "Show me what?" Nefra cried. "That I blink too often?" But when the handmaiden quietly set down a small, unpolished shard of bronze, its surface dull, its shape irregular, Nefra saw herself reflected not as a statue, but as a woman, blinking in surprise. The shard had honesty where the mirror had manners. She flung it away, yet that honest image lingered, glinting in her mind long after the polished one had faded. The court soon noticed the change. Nefra no longer glided through corridors so much as stormed them, muttering about defective sunlight and treacherous optics. Her sculptors were dismissed. "You've lost your sense of proportion." The musicians silenced, too cheerful for tragedy. And even the pigeons were banished from the balconies on suspicion of bringing bad reflections. Pani, infuriatingly, remained cheerful. When she passed him in the temple courtyard, he bowed politely, then went straight back to helping masons carve a relief of Hathor smiling down on ordinary mortals. That night, Nefra could hardly sleep. She dreamed of the relief coming to life, Hathor stepping from the stone, her golden eyes warm and knowing. "You paint the world in your own image," said the goddess, "but you never let it paint you." Nefra awoke, drenched in moonlight, heart racing. For the first time, she wondered what it would mean to be seen without adorning herself first. She turned toward the great mirror and found she couldn't bear to look. That night, the air in Nefra's chamber shimmered like the inside of a shell. The lotus lamp dimmed, the curtains swayed though there was no wind, and suddenly the moonlight gathered into the shape of a woman, radiant, serene, crowned with the sun disk between gentle cow horns. Hathor herself had come, smiling the way dawn smiles when it forgives the night. "Princess," said the goddess, her voice like the sound of a harp played underwater. "You spend your days polishing mirrors, yet you have never polished your heart." Nefra tried to curtsy and faint at the same time, achieving neither. "But I am beautiful," she stammered. "Everyone says so." Hathor's laughter was soft and kind. "Yes, child. You are beautiful enough to make the Nile pause for breath. But beauty without kindness is like perfume without the flower. It fades into nothing." The goddess touched Nefra's brow, and warmth spread through her like sunlight and water. "Tomorrow," Hathor whispered, "give something away, then look again." And with a wink that seemed to brighten every star, she dissolved into a cascade of golden petals. Nefra awoke gasping, and for once, forgot to check her reflection. Morning came with the reckless brightness of revelation. Princess Nefra rose before her attendants, a first in recorded history, and stood before the mountain of her wardrobe. Linen gowns in every shade of moonlight and honey, necklaces like captured rainbows, sandals with soles softer than compliments. "Very well," she said aloud, as if negotiating with destiny. "Let us begin the great redistribution." Merit nearly dropped the breakfast tray when she saw her mistress loading garments into baskets. "My lady, are you having an episode?" "Possibly," Nefra interrupted, "but a charitable one." The princess marched into the courtyard and, to the astonishment of servants and guards alike, began giving her silks and gold belts to the wives of laborers, her perfumed oils to the temple dancers, her embroidered shawls to laughing children who wore them like royal capes. And something miraculous happened. People stopped bowing and started smiling. Nefra caught herself laughing, an untrained, inelegant sound, and realized how much lighter the air felt when no one was calculating her magnificence. For the first time, her heart felt polished, and the world reflected that back to her. By late afternoon, the palace courtyard buzzed with gossip. The princess had gone mad, or perhaps divine. Pani, passing by with a bundle of scrolls, stopped short at the sight before him. Nefra, hair undone, tunic smudged with dust, was kneeling beside a group of children, teaching them how to weave palm fibers into little fans. The laughter rising from that circle sounded suspiciously like happiness. He approached, uncertain whether to bow or applaud. "Your Highness," he said, "I hardly recognized you." Nefra grinned, one hand streaked with dye. "Good. I was beginning to recognize myself far too easily." The remark startled a laugh out of him. They spoke for a long while, about work, about laughter, about how the Nile looked different when you stopped expecting it to admire you. Merit watched from a distance, wide-eyed, as her mistress, once capable of turning any conversation into an ode to herself, actually listened. And when the evening wind caught Nefra's hair and Pani brushed a strand from her cheek, Thebes itself seemed to exhale in relief. At last, the statue had stepped down from its pedestal. The next evening, the gardens of Thebes glowed with the syrupy light of sunset. Lotus blossoms closed like sleepy thoughts. Palm shadows stretched long across the tiled paths. Nefra and Pani walked side by side among the flowering tamarisks, speaking in that gentle rhythm that exists only between two people who have stopped performing. No musicians, no scribes, no admirers. Just the hush of a garden learning a new kind of beauty. They settled beside a pond, where lilies floated like fragments of the moon. The water reflected the pair in soft ripples, and for a heartbeat, another face appeared. Hathor's, smiling, luminous, her eyes full of laughter. She gave a playful wink, then vanished into the shimmer of the pond. Nefra touched the surface, sending circles of gold outward. "Do you see that?" she whispered. Pani smiled. "Only the most beautiful reflection I've ever known." For once, she didn't ask if he meant her face. She simply laughed, the clear, unpolished kind, and the garden echoed it like a hymn. Moral: beauty fades where pride takes hold, but shines anew when the heart turns gold.